Hello, my name is Cheyenne DeLoach, and a few weeks ago I participated in GameDev.tv's annual Game Jam. Me and my buddy Cody created this game, Cell Damage, over a 10-day period, and at the end of it all, we got 6th place out of over 1,000 entries, which we were very proud of. This year, I decided to do recordings of the game at the end of each day, so I could put them all together into a bit of a retrospective and see how the game evolved over each day. So, let's start by going all the way back to day 1. So, on day 1 is when we learned about the theme for the jam, which was Tiny World. So, we needed to make a game that was somewhere in the realm of a tiny world. And we thought about doing an ant-based game because we like ants and bugs, and we considered a couple other themes, but we settled on a cell-based game because we'd played some Flash games back in the day that were in this sort of similar theme, and we wanted to do something like that. So we came up with an idea for a clicker defense game, and as you can see, at the end of day 1, we actually already had the basic, very basic gameplay loop kind of settled for the game, which is pretty cool. And on day 2, we started to implement upgrades, which is something that we knew we wanted in the game from the beginning. So you can see we have these orbiting cells that destroy viruses that come near them, as well as this cell that follows your mouse cursor, which is one that didn't make the cut in the final game, but was still fun to implement. And in day 3, our game is really starting to take shape here. We implemented a couple more upgrades, including this projectile upgrade, as well as this click radius upgrade, which we later ended up calling Big Click. And we also have the ability to choose between a set of 3 random upgrades at the end of each wave. And I think at this point we only have the 3 upgrades, so you don't see any randomness here yet. But that is really an important part of our gameplay loop, is being able to choose what upgrade you want at the end of each wave. So day 4 was a little bit of a light day, but I implemented these Golgi apparatuses that Cody made the art for, and they are sort of like little power-ups that come in from the edge of the screen just like a virus, but instead of hitting you, they orbit around you, and you can click them to make them explode, killing a ton of viruses, which is pretty fun. And day 5 here is where the game is really starting to take shape. We have this new background, and we have another upgrade with this roaming cell that sort of replaced the mouse following cell that we got rid of earlier. And as you can hear, we have new sound effects. And this popping sound effect for when you destroy a virus is actually me flicking my cheek in a sort of bubble sound, which we thought was pretty funny. And you can see we have more types of viruses coming in to attack, and it's just really starting to flesh out into more of a real game. And on day 6, we had a lot more polish. We added more enemy types with different colors and more health, and some new font and animations to the UI that make it a lot more satisfying to use. And the biggest structural update was the idea of permanent upgrades. So at the end of every run, when you die, you get to choose one of the upgrades that you got during that run as a permanent upgrade, which is a pretty core part of the experience. On day 7, we finally added music to the game. Cody made some really awesome music to go with the game. We also added this color-changing background, so every wave, the background changes color. More updates to the UI, more polish, and the game is really starting to look great by this point. So day 8, we added more and more polish, of course. You can see the nucleus of the cell now expands as you destroy more and more viruses in the wave. And when it gets to the next wave, it will go back to its normal size. And we also added our first boss. So we have this boss that will shoot projectiles at you and orbit around you, and was pretty cool to look at. So day 9, we are in the home stretch here. The game is nearly feature complete. We added a lot more polish to the UI, a little more information about each upgrade, and we also added 2 more boss types, including a melee attacking boss and a final boss that will spawn viruses that then attack you. So really, that was the biggest chunk of work in this day 9, as well as fixing a lot of bugs and making sure the game works properly. On my end, I definitely felt like today my code was my, hastiness in coding in the earlier days was sort of coming back to haunt me in many ways. And I think I pulled it off in the end here, but there was definitely a little bit of a struggle with all of these game states and how they transition into each other that I probably could have done better. But it all worked out in the end. So now this is our last day. We are feature complete at the end of this day. Of course, we had to be because we needed to submit on 2 p.m. on the following day. And we were just adding a little bit more visual polish and also a couple key features. So visually, the biggest thing I think we added is these cells in the background that are moving sort of randomly in the background. That was an idea from our buddy that came from the game Spore, which has a similar visual thing in the background in the early stages of that game. And I really think it made the background of this game pop like so much more. It looks so much better just with this simple addition. We were really happy with that. And feature-wise, number one, we added an auto clicker. We noticed from testing ourselves, my arm was getting tired after clicking so badly testing this game, throughout the week, and also from showing it to a couple friends that we watched play, and they were expressing how fast they were clicking. And I just was thinking, man, we really got to add an auto clicker to this game. I think people would really like that. And sure enough, we got so much great feedback on that particular feature. It's something that I think a lot of games could implement, not even just in this style, personally. And another key feature here, you can see in the bottom right, we have this pause button, as well as the fast forward rewind, which changed the game speed. So you can't rewind the game. I suppose that's maybe a little misleading, but you can turn the game speed down to half the normal speed, which if you're struggling with the game, I think that allowed a lot of people to have fun with our game that might not normally like it, and was helpful for me when we were testing when I got tired and needed to kill this boss, for sure. And we also added the ability to increase the game speed by 2 to 3 times, which made it so that if you are playing multiple runs of the game and you are unlocking a lot of upgrades that make the early levels easier, you could just sort of fast forward through those early levels and get to the more fun parts to, get to the bosses and unlock more upgrades. And it really gets crazy when you go to the endless mode and you're on wave, 25, 30, and there's just like so many viruses on screen. You have crazy upgrades, and you can increase the game speed, and that's just like another kind of experience you can have with the game that's very different from the early experience you have with the game. So overall, we were really happy with how the game turned out, and with our placing, of course. 6th place was like very, very nice to see. And we've done this game jam for a few years now, and it's always just like so fun to be part of this little community just for a couple weeks. And it's very supportive community. If anyone's watching this that was part of the game jam, you guys are all awesome. We really enjoyed playing all of the games that we could that other people made during the game jam, and we're so thankful for all of the feedback that we got from you guys during the voting period of the jam. It's really, really fun to have other people play your game and say what they like and what they didn't like about it, so that we can improve in the future for, game jams or, games that we want to sell or anything like that in the future. It's just a really fun experience, and thank you so much for GameDev.tv for putting this jam on every year. It's been a real blast every time we've done it, and we plan on doing it yearly in the future. So thanks for watching, and if you'd like to play Cell Damage, you can follow the link in the description to this video to the itch.io page for the game. It will continue to be up, and if you're a fan of these old Flash games, from the aughts, then I think you will have fun with this game. So thank you, and see you later.